Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This time we're going to take a trip back in time to another era of Star Wars media. These were the things that I grew up on and some of my favorite Star Wars content that's ever been made. And that is the Dark Horse Star Wars Republic comics from the early 2000s. And these were kind of meant to fill out the timeline of the Clone Wars because this was long before the Clone Wars animated series that we would get by Dave Filoni years later. This was kind of our first look at a lot of these characters and a lot of the events of the Clone Wars. What I really loved about these comics is they weren't exactly kid friendly, like they were definitely entertaining for kids, but they really showed a much darker, grittier side to the Clone Wars, which I really think is what war is all about. It's not always these fun, slapstick type of adventures that we kind of see in the animated series a little bit. This is more of a grounded, realistic approach to these Jedi having to win full out wars and all these different war torn planets with squads of clone troopers and all kinds of terrible elements, rain, and dealing with all different types of opponents. It was just really, really cool. These comics did a really good job of fleshing out a lot of characters. Some of my personal favorites being Dirge and Asajj Ventress from the Tarkovsky Clone Wars animated series. They are given extensive roles during the conflict here. Really, really great characters. Quinlan Voss plays a huge role in this series. He has several very interesting storylines that lead all the way up past the events of Order 66. Ayla Secura, as well, is a very prominent character. We get to see Dark Jedi, we get to see a lot of death, and the clones themselves are personalized very well in these stories. You meet clone troopers like Alpha, who is one of the greatest clones that's ever been created just because he's a total badass. He has no filter when it comes to back talking the Jedi and kind of creating this interesting parallel about how even though the Jedi are generals, they are not the ones that are bred for combat and they're not the ones that have the extensive combat training when it comes to a military style assault. And Alpha really puts them in their place when it comes to making battlefield decisions. So he's a great character, great addition to the series. And these comics had excellent artwork. Shout out to the ones that really designed these characters and these covers, the backgrounds, like everything just worked so well. This is a series that if you haven't checked out, I highly recommend. If you're not someone that's ever really been into the comic book world of Star Wars, I feel like the Republic series is a really great one to jump into. There's a ton of issues, there's a ton of characters and stories, and you're bound to find some type of story that you'll enjoy. And you'll get to meet a lot of the background figures of the Jedi and the Clone Wars era that even in the animated series didn't get a lot of light, like Oppo Rancisis or Asherad Het, the Tusken Jedi. And like I said, it's a phenomenal series. A lot of characters and stories in this I really wish they would have adapted or brought back. Because like I said, this was during a time during the prequel era where we didn't have a Clone Wars series to watch. And we all were excited and wanted to know what the Clone Wars was all about. And this was a really, really good series to understand what it was about. There's just something really special and nostalgic about looking back at these comics. That whole time period was really exciting for me as a Star Wars fan. And mind you, I didn't grow up during the time of the original trilogy, and I can only imagine how exciting that time was waiting for the next film and seeing where the story would go next. For me, the prequel trilogy was that because that was what I grew up with, and watching those films and seeing all these Jedi and the Clone Wars, it's so cool to me, and it's still really cool to this day. So yeah, the Star Wars Republic series, highly recommend. Again, some of my favorite characters, favorite storylines. I'll have to do individual videos covering all the different multi-part story arcs that were in here because there's so many that are just awesome and just really really good Star Wars. Yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I appreciate you watching. Let me know if you remember this series or if you have any questions, want to check it out potentially in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed. You don't want to miss out on any Star Wars content hitting your news feed on a daily basis. And as always, may the Force be with you. Now let's blow up that like button and go home.